It is 7:27 in the evening on February 9, 2004. You are a bus driver named Butch Atwood and you are driving your empty school bus home along Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, a remote stretch of road through the White Mountains, snow-covered, dark, barely trafficked on a Monday night in winter. You come around a bend and see a black Saturn sedan lodged against a snowbank. Steam rising from the hood. A young woman standing beside it. You pull over. She appears shaken but unharmed. She is 21 years old. Her name is Maura Murray, though you don't know that yet. You ask if she's okay. She says she's fine. You offer to call for help. She tells you not to call the police. She says she has already called AAA. There is no cell service on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. There is no record of any AAA call. You know this, but she is standing there in the cold and she seems coherent and she has told you help is coming. So you drive the remaining 100 yards to your house and go inside. You call 911 anyway. At 7:46 p.m., 19 minutes after the first 911 call was placed by a neighbor who saw the crash, Officer Cecil Smith arrives at the scene on Route 112. Maura Murray is gone. The car is locked. No footprints lead into the surrounding snow. The scent dogs will later track her trail heading east, toward the road, for approximately 100 yards before it vanishes completely in the middle of the pavement. A dog does not lose a scent on open ground without reason. A scent vanishes in the middle of a road when someone gets into a vehicle. Inside the locked car, investigators find her schoolbooks, a stuffed animal, a box of Franzia wine, spilled, red liquid splashed on the ceiling and door, MapQuest directions to Burlington, Vermont, a book called Not Without Peril, blank accident report forms, and a rag stuffed into the tailpipe. Maura Murray has been missing for 22 years. Maura Murray was born on May 4, 1982, in Hanson, Massachusetts, the fourth of 5 children in a close-knit Irish Catholic family. She was, by every measure anyone applied to her, exceptional. She qualified for the U.S. National Scholastic Outdoor Championships in the 2-mile run as a high school sophomore and finished 33rd in the country. She was accepted to the United States Military Academy at West Point, one of the most selective institutions in America, and attended before transferring to the University of Massachusetts Amherst to study nursing. She would blush if you mentioned any of these accolades. She wasn't doing it for attention. By February 2004, she was a junior in UMass's intensive nursing program. She had a boyfriend, Bill Rausch, a commissioned Army officer stationed in Oklahoma, someone she had met at West Point. She was driven, accomplished, and by the accounts of everyone who knew her, deeply private about whatever she was struggling with in the weeks before she disappeared. Because something was wrong. Something had been wrong for several weeks. And whatever it was, Maura Murray took it with her when she left campus on February 9, 2004, and has never been found. The Maura Murray case is not simply a disappearance story. It is a departure story, and the departure began before the crash, before Route 112, before Butch Atwood and his empty school bus. On February 5, 2004, 4 days before she disappeared, Maura was involved in a minor single-car accident in a parking lot near West Point, where her father Fred was stationed. The car she was driving was her father's Toyota Corolla. The damage cost nearly $10,000 to repair. The responding officer wrote an accident report, but there is no documentation of field sobriety tests being conducted. Something had happened that night that Maura needed to manage before her father found out. On Saturday, February 7th, her father Fred drove to UMass Amherst. They went car shopping together, presumably to discuss replacement options after the parking lot accident. They had dinner. That night Maura borrowed Fred's car again and returned to campus to attend a dorm party. She arrived at 10:30 p.m. She left at 2:30 a.m. On Sunday, February 8th at 3:32 a.m. she emailed her nursing cohort a homework assignment, Maternity Clinical Definitions, from her dorm. The assignment was routine, but the timestamp, 3:32 in the morning, implies she was awake and working in the hours after the party, alone in her room, the campus quiet around her. Something happened on Sunday, February 8th that has never been fully established. On Monday, February 9th at approximately 1 p.m. Maura emailed her professors and her work supervisor. The email said she would be away for a week due to a death in the family. No family member had died. Her relatives later confirmed no such death had occurred. At 12:55 p.m. she had called Linda Salamone, the owner of a condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire. Though Salamone did not remember the call, she later confirmed that she had not rented a unit to Maura. Maura had been researching accommodation in the White Mountains region and calling ahead to book somewhere to stay. She withdrew money from her bank account. She packed her belongings. She loaded her textbooks into her car, bought approximately $40 worth of alcohol, and headed north. She told no one where she was going. She had MapQuest directions to Burlington, Vermont on the passenger seat. She drove north into New Hampshire on a Monday evening in February. At 7:27 p.m. her car left the road on Route 112. At 7:27 p.m. a woman named Faith Westman called police in Haverhill to report a car accident on Route 112. A black Saturn appeared to be stuck in a ditch near her home. Shortly after that call, Butch Atwood came around the bend and found Maura standing beside the car. The conversation between them is the last documented human contact with Maura Murray. She appeared shaken but coherent. She declined his offer of help. She said she had already called AAA. She asked him not to call the police. Atwood returned to his nearby home and called 911 anyway. Those 19 minutes between 7:27 p.m. and 7:46 p.m., between the first 911 call and Officer Smith's arrival, are the window in which Maura Murray disappeared. Inside the locked car, Officer Smith found everything except Maura. Her schoolbooks were there, her stuffed animal, her AAA card, a box of Franzia wine, some of which had spilled inside the car, the MapQuest directions to Burlington, the book, Not Without Peril, a guide to dangerous hiking conditions in the White Mountains, blank accident report forms. One theory suggests she had brought them in case she needed to file a report for the parking lot accident without involving her father. And a rag stuffed in the tailpipe. The rag has never been adequately explained. A rag in a tailpipe can prevent a car from starting, implying either that Maura or someone else wanted the car to be unoperational. It has also been suggested the rag was already there before the crash. No explanation has ever been definitively established. Her bank accounts, phone, and credit cards have never been used since the night she disappeared. Several nearby residents were questioned and cleared. No one has ever been named a suspect. No physical evidence, no clothing, no belongings, no remains, has ever been recovered from the surrounding terrain despite extensive searches of the White Mountains area. In February 2026, the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit confirmed they are now actively using lidar and facial recognition technology as part of the investigation, tools that were not available in 2004. Lidar, light detection and ranging, can map terrain with extraordinary precision, detecting disturbances in earth and vegetation invisible to conventional search methods. Decades may pass, but our determination to find answers for Maura's family and the public does not diminish. The Maura Murray case presents the most behaviorally layered pre-disappearance sequence in your entire catalog, because the behavioral evidence that exists points not just to what happened on Route 112 on February 9, 2004, but to a sustained emotional crisis in the days before the crash that has never been fully explained and that shapes every interpretation of what followed. Begin with the departure itself. A 21-year-old honors nursing student who fabricated a family death to explain her absence from campus, researched accommodation in New Hampshire while making calls the day of her disappearance, withdrew cash from her bank account, packed her belongings, and drove north without telling a single person where she was going, is a person who was managing something she did not want anyone to know about. That behavioral profile is not consistent with impulsive flight. It is consistent with planned departure. A person who had thought about leaving, decided to leave, and executed that decision with enough organization to send emails, make phone calls, and pack before going. The question behavioral analysis cannot definitively answer is whether that planned departure was toward something, a destination, a person, a plan, or away from something, a crisis, a secret, a situation she could not face. The MapQuest directions to Burlington, Vermont suggest a destination. The call to the Bartlett condo owner suggests an accommodation plan. The withdrawal of cash suggests financial preparation. These are the behaviors of someone who planned to go somewhere specific, not someone in crisis flight who drove north at random. The crash and the 19 minutes are the behavioral sequence that has generated the most sustained analysis. Maura's decision to tell Butch Atwood she had already called AAA, when there was no cell service and no record of any such call. She lied. She lied specifically and deliberately to prevent a potential helper from immediately calling police. The reason for that lie has been debated for 22 years. Bill Rausch, her boyfriend, received a mysterious muffled voicemail days after she vanished that he believed was from her. If Maura was alive long enough to make a call after the crash, if the voicemail was genuine, it implies she survived whatever happened in those 19 minutes and was somewhere with enough cell service to place a call. It also implies she chose not to identify herself clearly, which is the behavioral signature of someone who was not free to speak openly. The litter investigation in 2026 implies investigators' working theory that Maura's remains are in the terrain surrounding the crash site, that she did not survive, and that modern technology can find what 22 years of conventional searching could not. Those two theories, she survived long enough to make a voicemail, or she is somewhere in the White Mountains terrain, cannot both be true. She has not been found.